Sometimes being a Christian young person is challenging because it can feel like you're the only one. You might know a few people through your church youth group or through other things that you do, but on a day-to-day basis with your groups of friends and in school and wherever else you might be, it might feel like you are a lone voice and you're the only one that believes what you believe. You might think that you are really powerless to do anything with your faith apart from have a personal relationship with Jesus at home, because what can you do on your own? Well, this week's gospel readings help us all understand that being one person or two people, we can still make a massive difference. In this week's gospel reading, Jesus uses lots of different examples of the kingdom of heaven, each one of them focusing on something that's quite small and yet significant. The idea of a small piece of yeast being put into quite a lot of flour and transforming the way that that flour behaves is really significant for us at Illuminate and the way that we view the impact that Christian young people can have in their communities of school and home life and where they live and whichever area of life they choose to go into in the future. Sometimes it's easy to get caught up in thinking that there needs to be a lot of us to make a difference in life. And yet that really isn't true. There's been some amazing research done over the last few years about some of the complete changes in culture in different countries. There was a massive revolution in Egypt a few years ago when the whole political system in Egypt got overturned. People took to the streets and they overthrew a government and brought in a completely new way of that country operating. When the sociologists did the research into that, they discovered that actually the tipping point for changing the way people thought was quite small. And they've studied that in other places and in other ways of thinking. And the same understanding that it just takes a small number of people committed to a way of thinking to change the views of people around them comes up again and again. And the research demonstrates that it only takes about 10% of a population to really believe in something, really go after something and act in a certain way. And that will shift change the way people think about things. We've seen it in the world around us around climate change over the last few years. What started with small numbers of people, individuals taking a stand, has an influence on a few people around them. And once you get up to a sizable but small proportion of a population, you can flip the way that everybody thinks. In this country, there are about 10 to 15% of the population of young people who believe in Jesus, who want to follow him and want to change the world for him. At Illuminate, we believe that if we can just draw those young people together within their community, whether that's in a school or a community setting or a housing estate or whatever it might be, and inspire those small numbers of Christian young people to live a life that changes the culture around them, they can have a dramatic effect on the people around them. When we're talking about changing culture, we don't mean that everybody in your class is going to become a Christian. That would be an amazing thing if that did happen. But that's not what changing culture is about. That's about thinking about how the culture of your classroom could be representative of the kingdom of God. You know, those fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, goodness, and self-control. How could your actions and the actions of other people like you mean that those are the values that are exhibited in every interaction between every person in your class? And the amazing, wonderful thing about that is that there doesn't have to be loads of you. 2, 3, 4 people is all it takes to start a movement. Do you realise that if the statistics are right, then there are at least 2 Christian young people in every classroom in this country. 2 young people. One of them might be you. So I wonder who the other one is. If you do know another Christian in your class, then commit yourselves to spending some time together, learning about each other, find out what each other truly believes about following Jesus, and think about how you can change the culture in your classroom. Think about the one thing that you can do together that will shift the culture of your class to make it more like the kingdom of heaven. And if you don't know another Christian in your class, maybe you know another one in your year group, or maybe you know another one in your school, commit to spend some time with them thinking about how you might change the culture of your school. But more excitingly, if you don't know another Christian in your class, what could you do about finding out who that might be? How could you show the Jesus that lives in you to other people enough so that somebody else who knows Jesus might decide to come up to you and say, I think we believe the same thing. And together, like a small mustard seed or a grain of sand or a piece of yeast, you can have a formidable, dramatic impact on the culture of the people around you.